Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Saturday at 11 a.m. live from Niagara Falls. And hopefully, I said it right, Chattanooga. Is that right? You got it. And this is an amazing group of leaders in women in insurance that have come together, and they're having a fun, amazing, loving, and developing time. Which I couldn't be part of personally, but I am happy we're having this conversation because it's going to be one that is powerful, important, and third is setting the tone for what this industry really is going to look like in the future. So I am not going to make introductions here. We're going to take it to the table and we're going to start with Tracy, who is the one that put all of this together, that made it happen. And, she is just so committed to this mission. So, Tracy, tell us about yourself. Tell us about why this is so important, and then we'll go around the table.
I really appreciate it, Monica. My name is Tracy Cotton, and I live here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I work for Starr-Mathews agency, and I, in some form or fashion, know everybody at this table. And it's been a couple of years ago, I had this idea about having a women's only retreat in insurance, and it just being a really good time to get to know people on a deeper level. And from that, though, in the last couple of years, there's just been so many conversations that I've overheard and seen and been a part of where we're really just trying to focus on uplifting each other, and that being a focus, not just strictly friendship, but what are we doing with each other for a career? What can we help each other with? And how can we help those around us? And it just seemed like it really fit. So that's been a fantastic opportunity for me just to say, hey, let's do this thing. It's taken a lot of work because the guest list kept changing. It's that time of, people are trying to get flights. There's been so many changes. People are literally changing jobs in the middle of this, as we know how things are going right now. But I knew in my heart that whatever group of women were to actually come to this table, that it would be the right conversation at the right time. And that's the conversation we've been having. And I won't get emotional, but that's where we've been all morning. And we've had a great time together. And so this is great because we're getting to know each other face to face. And I can't wait to see what happens from here. But I just am so absolutely thankful for you letting us do this with you, but also for every one of these women having the time and commitment to come in and being open and hanging out. Thanks, Monica.
This is a powerful table you brought together. It is pretty impressive. I mean, we're gonna go around and meet all of them, but you should be very proud of what you pulled together.
Yeah. The thing is, and I don't know if they'll actually tell you or not, but we've been having the conversation that a lot of times what we don't realize is we think as ourselves out in the industry, we don't really think that we make much of a difference. And the way that I see the women at this table and the way that each other see the women at this table, it's a very different opinion. We see that each other is really working hard and making strides and really, making a difference and showing up. And that's been I think a lot more fun just because we also can show that to each other. And it's sometimes you don't see it yourself.
That's the first step, showing up. I remember we were in Vegas, right? And Misty and I are sitting across each other, and I hear
I learned that the hard way.
I hear Misty's name, and I was like, hold up, you are Misty? And then we just click, right? It's so funny how we kind of have all these connections and we've never met in person. And then you're at a place and you're like, hold on, you are this person. And then it creates magic. So let's go on to the table and let's introduce the next guest over here, Miss Sarah.
So my name's Sarah Muniz. I've been in the insurance industry 21 years, have a love-hate relationship with it. Love the opportunities that it has provided, hate the struggles that it has created, especially for someone who's talented, watching non-talented people move up because of their gender rather than their talent. It's been kind of frustrating, but it's also caused that spark of fire in me to write about it and put it out there and let other women know that they're not alone. And in that journey, had I not had that spark to write a book and put it out there and put my story out there for everyone to see, whether they should or not, I've met you, Monica, and I would say that you're one of my dearest friends now. I don't know if you feel that way about me, but I have all the love for you.
Let's forget the fact that we just cried 15 minutes ago. No.
Yeah. And then Dustyne, like, we spent 8 hours in the car, and now whether she likes it or not, she's my BFF. We've been BFFs, I feel like, for 2 years, but now we're BFFs in person. Yeah. So I have tons of BFFs. I just have all the love.
I love it.
I'm happy to be here.
I love it. Carrie.
Hi there. I'm Carrie Reynolds, and I've been in the industry for 26 years. I've done a lot in that time. We were talking about this earlier this morning, and it's kind of crazy. I do insurance, as we said earlier, so I do the policy thing, but I do the ownership thing. I'm a blogger. I've been blogging since, 2009, I guess. I've written a book about insurance. I've spoken. I've written for industry publications, and it's been quite a ride, and it's been a lot of fun. But like Sarah said, you do always have a love-hate relationship. That's the way it is. But I think I've overall more positives than negatives. I will say this: I created a persona several years ago, and some people might know me as the insurance goddess. I don't use it as much as I once did. But I will say that helped catapult me into a lot of opportunities. So this industry will present opportunities at the right time. And without that character, I would not have been able to speak, write, and just do all the fun things that I've been able to do over the last, even 10 years. So, and I'm a huge champion for women, always have been. I beat that drum all the time and try to help others. And I guess that's my mission in life. So there you go.
All right. We have back there.
And I'm Vicki Gibson. I am General Manager and Director of the Auto Shop Program at Access Insurance down in South Florida, where we have a couple offices. I'm in West Palm Beach. Tracy and I've known each other for a while. We had a podcast. I've been in insurance for a little bit. Been this ups and downs, back and forth, and with a few different companies. And somehow or another, I was blessed with an opportunity in South Florida that I absolutely love, with the boss who helps promote women. Has just been an amazing, amazing boss and mentor for me. Tracy invited me here, and I sat there, and everybody's introducing themselves earlier, and I was like, before that, thinking, why am I here? Everybody does such amazing things. And then a little bit of everybody's story I found in me. I found the struggles, the same kind of struggles, some of the same stories, and the heartache with family heartache and children and everything else. And I realized that this is how women support women. When we put down our guards and realize that there's a little bit of us in everybody. And so I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
I'm Dustyne Bryant. I'm the Personal Lines Academic Director at the National Alliance. I've been there for about 2 years, been in insurance for almost 16 years. I'm not a practicing agent, though I do have an active agent's license. So in terms of doing insurance, as we talked about before, Carrie said she does the policy thing. I do the education thing. I think we all have a do in insurance in one way or another. We each have our own little niche at this table. And just like Vicki said, I think it's amazing that on the way down here, Sarah graciously picked me to be her unknown driver, and that's a huge risk to take, and I'm curious as to whether or not she's going to drive back with me or Meg. So no pressure. But it's just, I think on the way down here, as Sarah and I were sharing our stories together, I was just like, who are you? Because you're me. And I mean, I don't know why we're sharing stories, because I just feel like we have the same story, but we have very different stories at the same time. And as I've gotten to hear a little bit of each one of these women at the table today, each one of their stories, I see not only encouragement in a direction that I might be able to go, but also I feel a piece of their story inside of me as well. So I think that's really interesting that we do feel like we're alone until we come together and we realize that we do have very similar. So Sarah, I said that I had a heartstring with her now. That's a thing that we learn in trauma parenting is heartstrings and what ties us together. And I feel like we're building heartstrings here at this weekend at Tracie is amazing and organized for us. And I'm really happy to be here. And Monica, thank you so much for having us on and just kind of shedding light on building a tribe, building your heartstrings, both professionally and personally, especially in a time where I'm not going to say the pandemic name. I'm just tired of it at this point, but at a time where that's created distance between people and everybody thought it was a blessing at first that you get to do your own thing, you can work at home. And now that we're, much past that at this point, we're also finding that it's an inhibitor. And so I'm really happy to be enabled to be here instead of inhibited.
This is the good stuff. I'm Monica. Hi. Thank you for doing this. Thanks for inviting us into your community this morning, and Tracy for making this happen. This is amazing. I've already gotten far more out of this than I expected I would, and we're only a minute into it. I'm McKeen. I'm the founder of Adjunct Advisors. It's a values-based consulting firm that supports individuals and organizations in the insurance industry, and it was grown out of my own values misalignment 5 years ago when I entered a period of burnout. Didn't realize it, but knew I needed to make a change. And the more I tell my story, my own story, and hold space for other women, mostly women, although I still do love and appreciate my male clients, that there's a lot more in common that we have than we don't. And there's something really magical and beautiful about holding space for what makes us women outside of our insurance careers. And so I do that through a variety of consulting engagements and a podcast that I also host. But really what it results in is a change and an enhancement of culture. And that's part of what I think we're all craving, is being part of something that has meaning and value and becoming leaders that are really able to walk our value system and bring people along, whether it's clients or employees, for us on that journey. So pinch me that I get to do this work as a recovering underwriter and
I'm a recovering underwriter.
It's still in there. It'll never not be in there. Also a non-practicing agent with a lot of love and gratitude for a business that has supported me along the way. It's really cool to be in this moment right now. And I'll just say this in closing before I pass the mic. We talk about our business being a relationship business, and I think we miss it like 90% of the time. This is what it means to be a relationship business, and this takes time, and it takes commitment, and it takes letting down your guard and sharing some of your vulnerabilities. And to me, awkwardness. That's where that's why I keep coming back, right? That's the drug. So
Awesome. Hey, Monica. Enjoyed meeting you in Vegas. It was awesome. And ditto to what all these amazing women, have said. There not enough time to say all the pre-stories that we had. And I'm so glad we had pre-stories because I cried. And I'm glad you were a crier too, because I'm always the crier. And I think everybody hit it on the nail of, being a men's world, trying to change that, and then women competing with women instead of realizing that we all have something to give, and together we can go up and support each other instead of competing with each other. And it's been amazing this weekend. And I'm in my hometown. My husband's like, why are you going to an Airbnb in your hometown? Which is amazing. I love my town. So I'm glad that I get to share it with these amazing women that will still be part of my life, and hopefully, the next story. And I think coming in, we all have this prejudgment on each other. And once you have a chance to spend a weekend with each other to unfold what we're all going through, kind of like what everybody said, we all are dealing with the same thing and the same hurts, the same insecurities, the same strive. And how do I get my story out? I got all this in here. How do I get it out to help other people? And I've always been a big supporter of women. And I think one of the things we talked about is we don't all help each other, and so it's amazing when you can find 10, 15, 30, 100,000 different women to say, I'm here to help you no matter where you come from. And then when you hear their stories, I think Vicki hit on it. She's like, I'm you, I'm you, I'm you, I'm you, I'm you, I'm you. And we are. And I'm excited where it's going, and excited I didn't have to go far. And I'm going to pass it to Tracy, which is why I'm here, because of her vision too.
Well, thank you for having us on, Monica. I have not yet had the pleasure of meeting you in person, but I do look forward to meeting you soon. I am happy that I was able to meet you and that you reached out, and Sarah's here, and I was able to meet Dustyne finally. They're in the group, so we'll be at our conference, so that's a huge thing. But my name is Tracy Wynn. I have been in sales over 20 years. I've been in insurance over 10. It has been a journey, for sure. Ups and downs. I am still an active agent. I have about 260 agents throughout the country. My primary focus and everything that I'm doing, everything that literally takes all of my time right now, is dedicated to Women of Insurance, which is actually the first and only female-owned and operated organization that is focused solely on women that work in insurance. You have other organizations that are for women, or they host conferences, but there's still men that are involved. They're either the speakers or they're the owners behind the company, and that's not what it is here. Or you have the other women conferences, and then they'll bring in like financial services, or they'll bring in other attorneys or other people that it's just professional business women, versus it being exclusively for insurance and for all lines of insurance. So all of this was just from literally everything that I have experienced, everything that I didn't have, everything that I struggled with, and trying to condense all of those tools and resources into one place to just simplify the whole process, so that women are able to succeed and women are able to move up and women do have a voice. And for the ones who say, oh, I've never spoken on stage, or I'm not qualified to do this, or I can't do this. Well, our platform is actually providing them the opportunity to do exactly that. It's not where you have to have a ton of experience to where you've spoken throughout the country. It's a starting place to be able to build up women. I'm a huge advocate for women just in general, and I always have been, which is probably why I haven't done well working for other people. But, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and just helping to provide a voice for women who typically stand in the background to make sure that they come out front and center.
Amazing. Well, counting the years, combining this table, we have over 180 years combined experience in insurance. Isn't that amazing?
We feel that all 180 years.
So if you don't feel you're qualified individually, at least as a group we are. So let's have the conversation. Let's talk about the dirty things, right? On the past few years, or maybe in the past 2 years, it's become more apparent the support that we are, given to women in insurance, and we have become more vocal about, wanting to get this movement going. In some people's eyes, we look like victims, and we look like, oh, we're feminists, go. But in reality, that's not really the point that we want to get across, or how we want to be perceived. So my question to you all is, why is so important to actually come together as a community, and come together as groups, supporting each other and providing each other support for professional growth? And why should that not be confused with victimizing women in insurance? I know I hit a button, Sarah.
Yes,
Sarah's gonna get started.
I'll start. So for me, just knowing that we have similar struggles, but we also have strengths to go on top of each other's shoulders, and then to know that I am doing the right things. I am advocating for the right things, because With my book, I've gotten positive feedback and I've also gotten negative feedback. And the negative feedback is, you're the problem. You're what needs to be fixed. There's not a problem, it's you. And then the positive feedback is quite opposite. So when I need to be re-inflated because I'm like a balloon, and sometimes it's hard to reinflate myself because I start listening to the negative feedback, and sometimes I listen to that more than I should. I really should focus on the positive feedback and the people I'm helping. But that negative feedback takes just a little bit of air out each time. And I'm trying to blow myself back up, and I'm like, I just don't know if I can do it anymore. Maybe this isn't right. Maybe I'm wrong. And then I go to an event that Monica threw for me, and I got reinflated, Monica, when I went to your event, and I felt so good. And then, I was reinflated, deflate. All of a sudden, Tracy's event is coming along, and I'm like, all right, blow me up. Blow me up, I'm ready to go. And so for me, it's about rejuvenation and just knowing that we all have to support each other, because the leadership does, men do, and if we're not supporting one another and reinflate each other, then we don't keep going.
And really, one of the things that we talked about this morning, it was not bashing gender as much as we were also recognizing that we've done each other a disservice, that we don't always experience what we would like to in any kind of, there's the term of sisterhood gets thrown around, and I very rarely have actually experienced that. And so if that's what would be a good thing for us to do, then we don't do that either. And I don't necessarily think that any of us probably have ever used the victim term, but what we also see is that, we just realize that there's been times that we've gotten into situations that at that point, we just weren't strong enough, or we weren't aware of ourselves enough, or maybe we didn't have the right support to get out of. And it could have been a negative situation with a boss or a coworker. For that matter, we've talked about this more, the fact that it's also been in personal relationships. We've had similar terms. And so I think that's just, we're all, you have to grow with that. But if you don't start somewhere in getting the support you need to be able to call on other people, I think that, that you really are just setting yourself up. And, if you want to use the term victim, somebody maybe wants to, I don't want to, and I don't want any of us to ever feel like we have to. That's not the position we're trying to take. But it's really more, I think, a position of where are we and how can we help each other better?
If I may, for me, this in particular, the remote work piece is something fairly new to me. I had always had an agency, a family. You go in and, there's other moms there. They're like, here are my kids have outgrown this. Can your kids use it? Or you come in and you're maybe just not quite feeling yourself. And somebody goes, oh, you look a little bit off. Well, I'm at home now. My office is in Austin and I work remote. So when I meet with people, we're meeting with a purpose. There's not time for how are you feeling? Let me check in with you. I'd like to check in with you. There's not that for me. So being able to do something, and this isn't a gender thing for me, that I identify with women, right? So that's where I'm going to feel most comfortable letting my walls down, letting my guard down. And of course, sketch it first until you kind of fill people out, but then you start to let your guard down. So for me, doing something like this, having a tribe, whether it's, like you said, it's a couple of people, it's 100 people, it's 1,000 people. For me, it's about finding a place where I can find, maybe I'm struggling with what my career identity is at the moment. And I do feel a little piece of that. And it's not a bad thing. I, express this to my own leadership. I despise the term boss. I have oppositional defiance disorder. So when somebody says they're my boss, nobody's the boss of me. You're more than welcome to be my leadership, but you're not my boss, okay? So I kind of hinted at this with my own leadership, and he says, oh, this doesn't sound good. I'm like, no, it's not that it's a bad thing. This is a point in my career where I'm trying to figure out what my next step is, or what my identity, not that I'm looking for a different position. That's not what I meant to, say. I'm trying to identify what my career means next for me. and being able to hear your story and your story and your story and grab a little piece of your air. And like you said, I would like to be a hot air balloon by the end of this weekend, you know? And I'd like to fly away, right? I'd like to find, you know, is there a piece of your identity that I identify with that's going to help me? I constantly say, there's something here that I can't articulate. Maybe you have the words to articulate it. Maybe you have the words to articulate it. And maybe it's going to help me find the words of what I feel. Not that something's missing. It's just there's something more. There's something else there. And I can't do that on my own. So a sense of community and what we've missed through the pandemic, that's what this is about for me. That's what I mean, there could be a male sitting at this table, but somebody that's trusted, right? But that's what this is for me.
For me, it comes down to a lot of what you said, but also that next step. I raised two beautiful young women that are very successful, but I also know how hard it is in this industry when you're young and you come in, and the things that young women face in there. They walk into an agency and perhaps they are the only female there, and they don't feel like they have a connection of who can I talk to. And I'm not bringing up like a male's creating a situation with them, but just the normal things that happen in life, and it's overwhelming, and you've got a job, you've got deadlines, you've got quotas, and the man who sits at the desk next to you is always hitting his quotas. He's always here. They're pumping each other up. They're playing golf. They're doing these things, and I don't have somebody to go to, and I don't have somebody to share it with, and I don't have. Women are different than men. We just are.
Yeah.
You know, we can try to be tough and we can do it, and the end of the day, you know, you can walk in and unfortunately have to fire somebody, and you walk out and you're going, geez, it's there, but I was a boss and I did what I needed to do. And then you go home and you cry.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's an emotional thing where I feel like, did I fail somebody because I couldn't bring them to a level to keep them here? But think that a 19, 20, 21, 22, 23-year-old woman comes into it with nobody to turn to. So your organization is so important because there is some place for them to go. It might not be within their agency, but there is a bigger platform, and everybody has that opportunity. We all have phone numbers, we all have emails, we all have these things. Somebody can reach out and say it. So I've always tried to reach out to the young women that I meet to say, and if you ever need to talk about something, I'm here.
Which is still in and of itself, that's a really hard invitation though, because still we hold this armor like, I would like to share, but I'm not really sure how much I can share. So even just offer, like this is a different, like we could all come in and say, what would you like to share? I'm here to help. And that's not going to bring out anything. It's actually sharing your story that's going to get somebody to go, okay, she is a safe person. Let me share her story.
And that's the next step that I usually take it to. Like insurance, I've been in other areas of business and management, and some of the experience I've had, but being able to say, you know, I've struggled many times and I know what it's like. And I know sometimes it doesn't feel safe to say things if you're worried that it might make you look weak in a strong industry. But trust me, we've all been there. So if you need somebody, you know, I'm here. I try to take it to that step. But it's hard. At the end of the day, it's hard to show your soft side, your vulnerable side. We all want to be tough.
Right. And it's not always that there's a problem to solve. I heard something once not too long ago where somebody said, when my kid sits down with me, he was talking about his teenager. Is this a listening story or is this an advice story? And he starts off with Dad, I need to talk to you. Is this a listening story or is this an advice story? Like, tell me which set of ears I need to put on.
That's right.
And I really enjoy that because it really opens up like, maybe I don't actually need my problem solved. I just need to let go of it. It's not that I want to do anything with it. I just need to let it go. Right.
You know, and Monica, I will share too, just to on the men's side, we are a lot to deal with. We're emotions. This is not taken up for them, but this is just helping them. I mean, that's why there's divorces. That's why there's men's from Mars and women are from Venus. And same thing with women on women. Men figured it out. They're like, don't bring emotion, bring sports, some alcohol, and let's get some shit done.
Sorry,
And
there
we-
are a lot to deal with.
like Nisha will say, PSC, get shit done.
But as not sticking up for them, but
Oh my
saying
God.
too, if we could help them with that, they don't know what to do with all our emotions. And I think we need to help them figure that out so that we can all get to the next level, but especially women first,
So
to
then
do
this
it.
is your tutorial. You
Yes,
always wanted to
Seriously.
Collaboration.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
From all of these and listening to your why, your reasoning, right? There is a couple things we can take from this, right? It boils down, right? The funnel boils down to a couple things. One, we lose our confidence because we don't have the ability, or we don't have the people that we can go to in order to build that confidence back when we actually need it. So we actually bottle up all these things that happen years over years, or months after months after months. And we get hurt from that confidence, which eventually prevents us from growing within the company, asking for that raise, going for what we want, right? So that confidence gets hurt because we don't have anyone to go to or being listened by, right? So that's one thing. And then the other thing, which I think our listeners really benefit from hearing, is why is relationship and mentorship key to get here? And I think some of you are amazing mentors, like Meg. You have done a 180 on your career. You have so many people that you help unconditionally. That did you really thought that was going to be your path, right? And then so I think what we really need to focus on is, how do we build that confidence in order to get to these relationships that are going to last forever? Because we're not here to compete. We're not here to bash each other. We don't want to create separation. We want to create unity, but we need to trust and we need to become confident on each other and in ourselves, right? Women, we struggle with that because we haven't given the floor or the platform to feel that way, to trust ourselves that way. So I would like to hear from you all in regards of why the relationship. And it's not networking, it's not you saying, oh yes, I met Sarah, or oh yes, I met Tracy, great gal. We need to go deeper. We need to create that relationship. So what is the importance of that, or that relationship, or those relationships, to grow that confidence, to then get the results?
I think that's actually exactly what we're doing with Women of Insurance. Going back to speaking about men and kind of how it comes, like I personally have had the reputation of hating men often. I absolutely do not. I absolutely love men. And I don't consider myself to be a feminist, but I am all about women, because why are we in supporting roles? Like, what are we doing? But in Women of Insurance, I've actually had some women get upset with me, because in the group we have where we can only refer to other women. So if somebody refers a man, then that gets deleted, and then they get the rule that was broken. And then I will get such hateful messages in my inbox where I'm just trying to provide a resource. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to do this. And that's great. And it's fine if you don't like the rule, but the rule is there. And it's there for a reason, because we all of us ultimately fall under a man somewhere when it comes to insurance. Like, there's very few women-owned organizations, well, not organizations, but agencies. And same thing with carriers. So while we can quickly call off a man to say, sure, he can help you, or reach out to him, he has what you need, there are so many other women who have what you need as well. And if you don't know anybody other than a man to refer people, it's totally fine. But there's 15,000 women in our community. If you don't know them, just don't respond. Just tag me, and I'll find a woman who is able to help, whether that is for mentorship, or if that's providing a product, a service, being able to help a client, help you to build and scale your agency. There's so many women that we have in that group that literally provide everything that we can get from a man. They're quiet. We by nature are not great at promoting ourselves. We promote everybody else, but women are not good at promoting ourselves. And that's one of the things that my goal is to change, is to make sure, like, I have so many women now that are like, Tracy, you're making me uncomfortable with all of the just acknowledging me or trying to put me on stage or trying to put me here or trying to put me there. And I'm like, you have to step out of your comfort zone to be able to grow. If you don't do that, you're not going to grow.
Yeah.
People don't know your story. People don't know who you are. You're doing amazing things. What are you worried about?
Yeah.
Go out and tell your story. Put the products together. Put the services together that you have. Stop giving away your time for free, because that's what we do. We give away our time for free. I don't do that anymore. For somebody to sit down and talk to me, it's $150 an hour if we're going to talk, because you're not going to waste my time. But being able to get it to where women value themselves, because you teach people how to treat you and you set that up. So if you allow a man to disrespect you, run over you, not value you, it's not going to happen. But if you say, hey, this is what it's going to be, we're either going to move forward or we're not, then everything changes, because they know, okay, I can't run over this person. I'm going to have to adjust, or there's not going to be any future communication or help or assistance or anything. So just having more women step into leadership roles, become confident, and just say what they're able to do. So that's exactly what we do within the group. We have a magazine coming out too. That'll be later this year, but that will be highlighting women. So when people are looking for a tool, they're looking for a resource, they're looking for someone to connect with, they'll be able to know that's highlighting women throughout the country, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Canada. So there's going to be somebody that's able to help. It doesn't have to be a man. And again, I don't hate men. I'm just saying, like, women need to speak up more. They need to just be out more. Ultimately, behind every successful man, what's there?
Successful woman.
Right.
Yeah. Well, two things: growth, and like how we say, like, beauty is pain. Beauty is pain. No, we got to change that to, like, growth is pain. Okay. And second, you're in control.
Yes.
You're in control on how you spend your time, what you do with your time, and how much money you can make. And I think it's wonderful that we are headed that way. Meg, I would like to hear from your perspective, because I know you have a lot to say.
I have a lot to say. I always have a lot to say. And I've shared this with the group, and I've started to lean into this in my own business. I'm a sociologist at heart. I'm here for the people and the behaviors, not necessarily the finance and the money and the math that we're known for in insurance. And when I think about mentorship specifically, because I think that's sort of the overarching category, one of my favorite things to do at this stage of my life and career, I'm 44, proudly, all the years, all the gray hairs, I earned them, and I'll continue to earn them. We get a lot of advice as women in our careers, early in our careers, later in our careers, and sometimes it's timed just right, and sometimes it totally misses the mark. And one of the things that I heard, and I still hear today, is this idea of faking it until you make it. Fake it till you make it. And I take issue with that today, based on where I've been in my own personal experience. Nobody taps you on the shoulder and says, okay, you can stop faking it now. You're good to go. You made it, girl. Like, that moment never happens. And so, well beyond the point that we're qualified, whether it's educationally or experience, or because you built your book to a certain amount or you received a certain level of promotion, nobody tells you to stop faking it. And so we keep doing it. And I think when it comes to mentorship, again, this is the sociologist geek in me. We have 5 generations in the workplace right now. It's never happened before. We have 5 generations buying insurance and either leading or getting ready to lead insurance organizations. We're all coming from a very, very different place. And not just in terms of our insurance careers, but culturally, the way we were raised, the way we're living our lives, the life choices we're making. Work life looks very different today than it did 150 years ago. And I believe mentorship isn't a woman who's been working in the business for 30 years, freeing up 30 minutes on her calendar to give back. I have learned that when I lean into the knowledge that I don't have from a woman who is in a different place on her journey, whether she's ahead of me or quote unquote behind me, I get so much more. And I think women won't wait 30 years to receive or achieve a certain level. We cannot, those days are done where another one do your time. I'm going to prison would be the only time I do
I love that.
right? I don't have any designs to go to prison, but I think we're in this time where there's a lot already here. How do we create paths that work both ways? I have a lot to learn from a woman in her 20s. She has a lot to learn from me. We both have a lot to learn from a woman in her 50s, 60s, and 70s. And it's a stressful time because how does a Gen Zer communicate with a baby boomer? Not well. Not well. But this is our reality. The baby boomers and the older Gen Xers are going to retire in the next 10 to 15 years. It's a huge opportunity for the youngest generations to come in and thrive. Are we making that possible? Are we meeting them where they are? When I started in the business, I was expected to meet the organization where it was. I was expected to show up and do the job that was put in front of me and put my head down and be grateful that I had a paycheck every 2 weeks. That relationship with work is really changing today, which means mentorship has to change.
Right.
Sponsorship has to change. Learning and development on the job, career pathing, all of that has to change. I'm here for it, obviously, because I love this. There's a lot of, to bring it back around, there's a lot of people, change is hard. Right, fundamentally, and I've said this candidly here in this group, and I'll share it now on the airwaves, this business wasn't meant for women to be successful in forward-facing leadership roles. The business was built for women to be in the office, processing paperwork, doing all the things that women fundamentally stereotypically do, organizing, detailing, empathizing, communicating. But it wasn't built for us to be in leadership roles, if you will, in sales roles even. And so we're changing that one conversation at a time, one day at a time, but change is hard. For the people that the business was built for, this can feel like a threat. And so I think there is a very sweet spot that we have to continue to find and stay with and push as we continue to make progress on our terms and redefine what success looks like and how we want our lives and our work to balance, but also be mindful that change for the positive for us can also be a negative for others. So I will get off my sociology soapbox with that. It's a fascinating and a really cool time to be in our business.
I love it. You perfectly said.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for the person that is being a little quiet on the table, Carrie.
Oh boy, here goes.
I met Carrie kind of like a past met at the IIOA event last year in Tampa. And one thing that really surprised me, this is on the relationship aspect of things, is the deep-rooted relationships that you have created over the years with so many women in this industry, and that you guys have catapulted each other into success. So tell me a little bit about what is the recipe and why that has been so important as an anchor in your success.
Did you say what is the recipe?
Uh-huh.
And you're asking that as someone who hates to cook.
I know you don't cook, but that's okay.
Take an egg and a little bit of sugar.
Yeah, right.
Salt.
This is how you bake a cake. Anyway, gosh. So yeah, 26 years is a long time. I guess, I don't know. This is a hard one for me to answer. My nature is just to try to help other people. I've always said that. I most of the time I do a pretty good job of it, but I think what I'm supposed to do in this world is just help others in some capacity, and I don't always know what that is. But within the industry, there's been significant opportunity for me to connect with people. And well, let's talk about social media. So that really, I think, was the catalyst for me, quote unquote, meeting a lot of people, because I met them online then I launched that persona of mine, and it all happened at the same time. Like the onset of social media, it was just like the perfect storm. And so then you start to gather some notoriety, and then you start to make those connections with people. And so for a while, it was just crazy. And it was just fun because people, for whatever reason, they felt like they could just come and share with me. They could share stories, and we would have these conversations. And I thought that was cool. I mean, I don't know. They saw me in some other way, maybe otherworldly. I don't know. Like I knew a whole lot of stuff, and it was just really cool. And just, I guess from all of that, and that's been over 10 years in the making, I've always just championed women, and I've always reached out, and I've always, people email me, and, I'll email them back, hopefully nicely. Tracy, whoops. But I'm a connector. So I call myself the Great Connector. That's my nickname for myself, because over the years I've managed to just, I usually connect with people because I'm very open. I'm very, as you can tell, I'm exuberant. I'm just very much an extrovert. Yeah, right? Right. And I'm a storyteller, right? I'm a storyteller by my nature. So I'm able to I'm good at small talk. So I'm just able to sit with somebody, I don't even know you, but we'll start talking about something. And then by doing that over the many years at conferences and podcasts or whatever, I've managed to just meet a lot of really cool people. And somehow I've remembered that. And if somebody puts in like my IAOA group or women of IAOA, they're like, oh, I need this. And I'm like, I actually know that person. I'm going to text them, or I'm going to call them, or I'm going to email them. And I get people together. I can speak to that for you because of Savital, because you and Troy, my accountability partner, needed a virtual assistant. And I said, I've never worked with them, but I know them. I know they're good people. I said, I want you to call them. And so it just, I just know people, and it's been a blessing because I'm able to share, and I'm able to connect other people with each other in the moment that they need to be connected. And that's been a pretty exciting journey. So yeah, the industry's been good to me I'm blessed to call a lot of people my friends, and I can reach out to a lot of different people at any given time. I might not see them all the time, but I'm like, hey, I need your help. Can you help me with something or whatever? And it's been, I don't know if it's luck. I don't know if it's personality. I don't know. It's a lot of cool things that have just enabled me to get to know a lot of cool people in the industry, and then share those people with others in the industry.
A lot of law of attraction there. You're attracting that to you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I try to be a positive person too. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. So if somebody comes to me, I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's kind of work that out. Or I have that experience or whatever. And like attracts like. Mm-hmm. That's true. So I mean, that's just that's just me. That's me. Yeah. It's always been me.
Amazing. Well, thanks for sharing. I have one last question. Believe it or not, we've been live for 50 minutes now. It's pretty amazing. Time flies. So one last question that I have, and I think I would love to hear from most on the table. Why is the importance of not showing up for yourself, but also showing up for others? What difference does it make? Who wants to get started, Tracy?
I'm right there on that. So one of the things we talked about earlier today is things that we show to the world on social media, particularly. And I recognize that we're in a time period where everybody's got to, got to be Instagram worthy, and it's got to be gorgeous. But what I started realizing a couple of years ago when I did my 50 for 50, and I started getting out and being very vulnerable by doing new things again and again, because that was what I was doing, all new things, is that the best connections that I would get and the best village, if you would, that I was starting to gather around me was because I was showing where I was struggling and where I was failing and where I was getting back up again. And being able to do that and putting yourself out there, I think, is more important now than ever, because when I say, hey, this is what's going on with me. And yes, it's kind of like vague when you do it on the social media universe. It's better with a village like we have right here. I want to be able to leave this weekend and say, okay, like, would you want me to go with you and do that? Because when I was doing my 50 for 50, I literally, the best time I had was with people saying, you want to go stand up paddling? I'll go with you. You want to go like hike a gorge? I'll go with you. And that right there is what I think a lot of us need and able to make that next step, whether it's, it's a mentoring type of position or it's just being able to be there with somebody. It's just checking in on somebody. How's it going with that goal you had? I know that you were looking forward to doing that next thing. You were thinking about starting that new business. You were thinking about starting to write that book, whatever it is. And being vulnerable yourself, it puts us all in that position to be able to better help others. If that makes sense.
I think for me, purpose, like money can only give you so much, but purpose is what keeps you going and keeps you passionate. And helping others makes me feel good. It gives me purpose. And my husband doesn't understand that. He's like, if you're not making money doing it, why are you doing it? That's not my sole purpose is not to buy you stuff. I was like, I have like my higher self is talking to me and I have bigger listeners. And also something that I learned when I was in college, whenever I studied with someone, but actually I would I would be mentoring them, kind of like they were struggling and I would be like their tutor, right? At that point, I'm like, oh crud, I have to know what I'm talking about in order to tutor them.
have to get better.
And so whenever I'm helping someone else, there's so much more that I get from them than probably they even received from me. Those classes that I tutor people on government is not my strong suit. I somehow aced that. And I don't even know how. This person was just like, will you help me? And I was like, I'll try. So just filling you up again. Purpose.
I love the question. I'm going to try and take the opposite side of that in terms of pouring into other people, but pouring into yourself as well. And that's what this weekend in particular is for me. I feel like I have poured a lot into other people. I tend to find my passion in supporting other people. I love the CISR role. I love the account manager role. I do value the producer role as well, but I find my value in supporting them to be the best that they can be. And like you said, you get back in return and how that is. And this for me, this weekend in particular, was doing something for myself. Not as close to personally, but as much as professionally. But for those two, it's just in the last couple of months, I've noticed that there's not one side or the other. It's all for me. There's no work-life balance for me. It's just balancing my life because I do find joy in work and I find joy in family life. And I don't want to separate the two. I want to join the two. And I think that's where I started by saying, I think it was a peak and I think I'm kind of in a valley, but I'm not sure if I'm coming out of that valley or down into that valley. That's, so I'm, as much as I love to hear that other people pour into other people, it's also, they're recognize the people that need to be poured into. And sometimes they're not always in the place to give back just yet. And they need to be poured into so that they can get to that spot. And that's where you serve the purpose in their life, is getting them to a point where they feel poured into, that they can start pouring into other people too. Don't discount, like, they're not giving enough back to me. You're giving to them because that's what they need. That's the role that you give and give without expecting in return. And I think, not that I'm not going to return anything, you please. But I really want to be poured into and siphon right now. I'm at a point right now where I need to siphon a little bit and pour into myself. So that sounds a little selfish now that I said it out loud. But
you can't pour from an empty cup.
I wanted to make sure that was heard because there might be somebody out there that's like, well, I don't have anything to give right now. And it's because what you have to give is yourself to be poured into. Somebody needs to pour into so many people. Right? So
that's amazing. Well, I really appreciate, ladies, you being here. I'm going to stop saying ladies because I know Meg doesn't like that word. Thank you. Thank you. I gotta respect all the boundaries here. Like it's all good. I love it. I love it. I remember that, you see, from like many conversations ago. Trying to be better at that. I think that's something that we also need to do better, listening and implementing. Check. I want to thank you all because I know that, this live session is ending for the world right now, but it's just starting for all of you there at Chattanooga. And I hope that you all have an amazing weekend, that you walk away not just with one glass, but many glasses full. And I know that, just like Dustyne mentioned earlier, all these strings are starting to, like, make sense and tie each other. So I cannot wait to see how not just ends, but how this begins to kind of like roll out, and how you all help each other, and we all help each other in the future. So once again, thank you all. Thank you, Tracy, for giving me the honor and opportunity to moderate this. And I think we have a mission to do a lot more of this more often. Don't you guys agree?
Yes. Yes.
So have fun.
Bye, Monica.
Thank you so much. Just 1 second here, and we're gonna end this.